All right, now that we're in the middle of hiring, you still have questions? Well, we're here for you today. Today, we have a special edition of AFD Live, and it starts right now. Today we have a special edition of AFD Live. I'm your host once again, Reggie Campbell, Austin Recruiting Division. Today is all about everything you want to know and ask about this hiring process. So today we're going to get started. I'm going to introduce a couple of people that's here to help us out today. Chief Richard Davis, head of the training division and over recruiting. Come say a couple of words.
Thank you, Firefighter Campbell. My name is Richard Davis. I'm one of the assistant chiefs with the Austin Fire Department. I'd like to say welcome. One piece of advice I'd like to give you guys, when you go through the hiring process and you make your appointment, don't be late. Good luck in the process. Thank you.
Next, I want to call up Mr. Vincent Cabales, representing the AQLC. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Vince Cabales. I'm with the Asian American Quality of Life Advisory Commission to the City Council. And I really want to encourage everyone to continue on the road for this application process. We need more minorities as firemen. You need to reflect the community. And I think that they're doing a good job in getting there, and urge you all to continue on. Thanks.
Next, introduce Mr. Bob Nix, president of our local 975.
Thanks for having me here today. I just want to encourage you to stay in the process. I'm going to tell you this job, and this is just my opinion from someone that's been in 35 years, is one of the best jobs you can have on the planet. You work with very good people, intelligent people. You work under good working conditions and a good fire station with good equipment, with great training. You do great work. And it's worth the effort you need to put in to get in this job, and it will take some effort. It's going to take significant effort. Not to just get through the tests and the hurdles, but once you get in the academy, it's very difficult. It's quite challenging, but it's worth it, because if you succeed, this job will take care of you and your family for the rest of your lives. And for the rest of your lives, you'll be doing meaningful work in the community. So I really implore all of you to take this very seriously and continue on your path of trying to get this job. And anything we can do from the association to assist you, please let us know. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Now I want to introduce our panel. We have Lieutenant Aaron Nunez. He's here representing hiring. He's also here representing recruiting. Captain Liz Donaldson, she's here representing training. Then we have Jo Beth Prentice, she's here representing HR. So they're here to answer any kind of questions you may have or anything you guys want to know today. So before we start, I want to get a couple of simple questions out the way. We get a lot of same questions all the time. Like, when does the first academy start? It's going to start January of 2022. So that's going to be the first academy. How many people will be hired out of this process? Right now, we have 5 classes scheduled, 42 people per class. So it's 210 people that we're expecting, or maybe more, or maybe less. Depends on how many we get through. So do we have study material? Get that every day. We don't. Our advice to you guys, go online. It's pretty standardized testing. Go take some practice tests. Look on our website. They have a study guide. Check that out. Look at some of the questions, see what the content is, and go find some more content. And don't let our study guide be your only source of material. What else did we get a lot of? Do you have to have any prior certifications? No, you do not. We certify all our firefighters for everything they need to know and have once they get in our academy and once they graduate. You will have all the certifications you need. And lastly but not least, how long is the academy? Like, our academies are 28 weeks long, pretty much 6 months. So That's pretty basic questions that I get a lot of every day. So now I'm gonna open the floor up to anybody out here that wants to come up to the mic, ask any questions. We have a panel that can help you out today. Who wants to come up? All right, go ahead, yeah. Pull your mask down and talk up a little bit.
Yes, sir.
So,
So, is there a difference in the length of the academy if you already have your TCFP certifications and your EMT?
go ahead, Liz.
So, no, when you come in pre-certed, currently the way we're doing is traditional classes. Even if you come in with your certifications, you'll go through the entire academy, but you still have to pass all of the AFD skills. And then if you are TCFP certified already, then you don't, just at the end, you don't have to take the TCFP skills and you don't have to sit for the written exam. That's basically the only advantage you have.
Thank you.
Next.
How is a typical oral interview normally structured, and what can I do typically?
So the oral interview is set up as a scenario-based interview. You're not going to have any people in the room. You'll be taking in batches. And so you'll need to set aside a significant amount of time to do the interview. But you'll read 3 different sections that will describe the scenario. And then based upon that scenario, you'll answer a few questions. And that's pretty much the entire event.
Next. Come on up.
And as far as the academy goes, that's what my questions are about. Is the academy a grading average overall, or is it a test-to-test pass or fail?
So it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
There we have, I can't remember the exact number of exams that you sit for, but we do have block exams that are our in-house exams, right? So there are 6 in-house medical block exams, and there are 10 or 11 in-house fire exams. So those kind of our bread and butter. But there are other exams out of jurisdiction that we take. So you would sit, if you're not already nationally registered for your EMT, there's the NREMT exam. There are like a CPR test in the very beginning, there's jurisprudence, so there are a lot of other little exams, right? But your grade point average is based on the block exams.
Okay.
But you can't fail a certain number of exams, even the ones from other jurisdictions, right? So you have to be able to pass and get through, but to complete and to graduate, you need to have a passing average within the medical and fire side.
And on the medical side, is the EMT an advanced or a basic class?
All basic.
Okay. All right, thank
We
you.
do have cadets that come through with their paramedic, and basically the advantage there is you understand the material already, and you can serve to help your fellow cadets.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else? You guys sure? Everybody?
What's that? You have questions about fitness? Oh, I didn't know.
I know.
Oh. I got lots of stuff we can talk about.
Hi, so I understand that we're EMT 1 certified, correct? As Austin firefighters?
EMT basic.
EMT basic. And also, Austin has an EMS service. How is the work of EMS calls divided between our department and EMS?
So we work in conjunction with them. So we serve as kind of the first people on scene and kind of as their hands and ears, so to speak. So we're going to do all the basic work on the patient, and they're going to drive the call, basically.
So there are more fire trucks in the city than there are ambulances. So generally, we get on scene a little bit faster than the ambulances do. Not always, but sometimes. And we go on certain priority calls. Not all priority calls, but the ones that are a little bit more, I don't know, anything that involves cardiac or breathing, anything like that, that's more life-threatening, they'll send the fire department on. And like you said, we show up faster. We kind of stabilize the situation. And when the paramedics show up, they're the ones who transport.
Excellent, thank you. And just one last question. What's the attrition rate, or around the attrition rate of the fire academy?
It varies with every class, but I would say about 10%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Now's the open mic. I know there's lots of questions out there. Don't be shy.
Now's the time to ask.
And he's just kidding.
Come on.
Chelsea Jones. I guess 2 questions. For the first part, the exam, do you know how many questions are in the exam?
I do not know how many questions are in the exam.
Okay.
I do know that it's going to be the rules for that day. We're going to open, sign in at 7 a.m. We're going to shut the door at 8, so you cannot, 8:01 is done. They're not going to let you in. You need to bring your ID and your number, I forget exactly the
Yeah.
confirmation number, along with you. You need both of those things in order to get in. From there, they're going to have, after sign-in, they're going to do a brief instruction period. After the instruction period, you'll have 4 hours to complete the exam. If you don't complete the exam in 4 hours, they're going to ask you to just stop at that point.
Okay. And then this is a physical question. So I know they have the kind of set course that you run through.
The CPAT, yeah.
Yeah.
Certified, yeah.
And then there's also, I saw the minimum requirements. So is that a separate physical exam that we'd be doing?
So the CPAT is the physical test that you'll have to pass to get in to the academy, right? And then once you're at the academy, there's a set of physical expectations that we've set. And actually, once you guys are done with your written exam, we will have, outside of the test, we'll have peer fitness trainers that represent the Austin Fire Department who can answer specific questions about physical fitness levels and where you should be when you arrive on day 1. And you'll be provided all of those expectations, like how many push-ups that we expect you to do. And then when you arrive at the academy, we hope that you have arrived prepared, right? Because if you don't arrive prepared, you're at a big deficit, right? You have a lot more to overcome. So when it comes to passing the CPAT, that's in the hiring process. And then once you've jumped through all the hoops and you've successfully gotten the offer of employment, when you arrive on day 1 of the academy, hopefully those expectations are being very clearly explained to you and expressed to you throughout this process. So when you arrive on day 1, you hit the ground running.
And you can find all those prerequisites, so to speak, on joinafd.com or Fire Cadet Employment.
Yes, I saw.
Both of those pages are really important. Guys, y'all need to be paying attention to Fire Cadet Employment. That website changes throughout this process and is updated with information. So, like, when you want to figure out what the next step is in this process, you need to be paying attention to that site. It's very important.
All right, thank you.
Just one point of clarification, the doors will close at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
Not at 8:01.
You gotta be there by 7:59. 8 o'clock is late. All right.
As far as continuing education after you graduate from the academy, what types of offers?
It's continuing education after you're already employed with the hospital, like after you're out of the academy. The department provides continuing education throughout the semesters. We actually work through ACC and their online program, and so we have, excuse me, a whole wing down at the training academy that is on professional development, right? So their job is to help with the continuing education, create those classes, and so we make sure all of our firefighters are trained up on the required fire and EMS. CECs. Yes, sir.
So after the written test and the SOP, where's the rest of the process like step by step?
So after the written test and the SOP, you'll get your cumulative grade. That is going to rank all candidates. The top 400 will be invited to proceed to the second phase of the hiring process. In that phase, they'll have the CPAT, their physical fitness or their medical exam, their psych exam, or assessment. They'll also have the treadmill test and there's one last one. background check. So all those are pass-fail. After that, you'll be, as we need folks to fill academies, you'll be placed into an academy,
There's no,
provided that you passed all those steps.
right. So there's no in-person interview? Or is it
The
SOP
the
comes
SOP is the interview.
Okay.
So that is your only chance to like speak and do that. And the only two things that you're assessed on that you actually get points that help your rank versus anybody else that you are the SOP and the written exam.
Okay. And on the SOP, we obviously know it's scenario based, and afterwards you can give kind of your spiel on why you think you should be hired. Does that matter? Like why, given your opinion on why you should
You're
be
not
hired?
going to be asked that question.
No?
No.
Okay, so it's just purely.
It is
scenario.
based on your performance on the SOP.
Okay.
A little slow, sorry. Thank you all for having us. Two-part question, I guess, just kind of more in the advanced stages of being a firefighter with AFD. What's the process for kind of moving forward in the, like, to different specialized fields, like spec ops and things like that?
Sure.
The timeline of being able to do that, the minimum requirement of, you know, being a firefighter, some places it's 3 years, et cetera. So I guess that's kind of just my question.
I'm gonna let you take that.
Oh, yeah.
I'll help you out.
All right, what can I make up? No, well, as far as the promotional process, I believe you can sit for the specialist exam at 3 years. Is that correct?
I think after two.
Anybody?
It's
Is
2
it
years. 2 years.
Okay, so after 2 years, you can sit for the exam. When you sit for that exam, you there are a couple things that come into play. So you have a certain number of seniority points that you can earn, and that maxes out at 10 years still.
Correct.
Right. And so that's like extra credit points on your exam. And then there's another part where if you've taken the exam before, you passed it, and then you didn't promote, you get a pass not promote point, one extra point, right? So, so as you are studying, and that's true specialist and lieutenant, not certain if that is just true for the captain's position as well? Okay, and the assessment centers are at captain and at battalion chief, correct? So after 2 years, you can promote to driver. It's competitive. It's one of the most competitive ranks, right? And then after that, a couple years in that position, then you can test for lieutenant, and then a couple years in that position, you can test for captain and the battalion chief and on up, right? So that's how promotion works. Now, when it comes to the special, the different programs within the department, most of that is expressing an interest, right? And when it comes to special operations, there's a significant amount of training that goes on, and those happen at specific stations. So if you're interested in getting it into special operations, it's a matter of just working with those crews and expressing that interest. And once a spot comes open, if you're chosen to go there, then you start that process of training.
Okay.
But there are programs in the department for just about anything you'd be interested in. So even if it's not, you know, spec ops or something of that nature.
Cool. Thanks, y'all.
Sure.
All right, before we get to the next question, I want to introduce another dignitary from our house. Frank Ortega, that represents LULAC. Could you come on up and say a few words?
My apologies for being a little late, but this area right here, part of town, is new to me. I remember when it was just a mall. It kind of puts you how old I am, other than the gray hair. I'd like first to welcome you all here. LULAC has been a big part of the Austin firefighters. We have been working very diligently in trying to recruit, and I'll be honest with you, minorities, basically Hispanics. Our population has been growing tremendously in that area. I'm not saying that you cannot be white or black. We encourage you all to participate, be a part of Austin, be a part of our community. We need all of you to make Austin a better place to live. LULAC stands for United League of Latin American Citizens. We are one of the oldest minority organizations in the country that includes Puerto Rico. It is an organization that speaks a lot of Spanish. I do not speak Spanish. I'm not bilingual. I am an Ortega. I am a man of color. I take a lot of pride in that. I get tired of people telling me that I don't look Mexican. Believe me, I am very Mexican. one of the reasons why I joined LULAC. Even in my growing up, I faced racism. Austin Fire Department is trying to break those barriers to where you all can succeed, every single one of you. And I'm here to make sure that that happens, along with the NAACP. The NAACP and LULAC have a working relationship as of this year, I believe. So we will be fighting on the same issues, and that's to make sure that all are, who have the capabilities, who are willing to stick to the program and follow through. I also encourage the APD, the Austin Fire Department, to make sure that they have mentors to guide you along the way. We are also desperately needing Asian Americans who can speak Mandarin or other forms of Asian languages. I welcome you. I'm going to make it short because I've been known to make it long and boring. So thank you for being here.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, any more questions? Had a lot, come on up.
Is deferral an option for the training sessions for the 28 weeks? Say that you have a full-time job presently and you need a more specific time of the year. Would you be able to put it off to the next session?
Under certain circumstances, deferrals are an option, but usually that is due to injury or military service. That is not for simply having a different job and wanting to continue with that. Once you get on with AFD, this is a full-time job and really should be the focus.
How are the successive classes decided? Is it based on the first 22 going in the first class and successively?
Based on attrition and our ability to have those academies. We only have the ability to do certain number of students at a time, and they each need a period of time. An academy takes 6 months, so they need to get through that period before we can start another one.
If I understand your question, it's also rank specific. So if in a perfect world, the first 42 people, if they all passed everything, they would be in the first class. Rank, so, and how you're ranked based on the SOP and the written.
But there are going to be some folks, so the top 42 are not going to make it. There are going to be some folks that are late, that miss a certain step, that fail out because of their background. So there's going to be attrition even at the very top. So
Okay.
it's going to be a sliding scale.
So in order to not be in the first class, you would just have to be in the next 40.
But don't throw
something.
the game.
Right.
Really.
Thank you.
Yeah, no.
You had something. There you go.
The academy is to begin in late January of next year. In that regard, if another winter storm were to happen and the roads were to ice over, how would that affect running drills or people unable to commute to class?
It's a good question. We had a cadet academy that was in session when Winter Storm 2021 blew through, and we were not able to have academy that week. It was an incredibly unique situation, but that gets determined by city manager and by Chief Baker over there, who decides if the at-will employees are coming in or not. So every situation is a little different. I can tell you it was very unique to not have an academy for an entire week, and there was a lot of makeups that had to happen. But as non-essential personnel just yet, we had to give space for the essential personnel to work out in the city. That answers your question.
Thank
Does
you
that
very
help?
much. Yeah.
Okay.
I have another one.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard earlier y'all said like a treadmill test. Is that relating to the 1.5 mile run time?
No.
No. Oh, okay. And then where would you run that 1.5 miles? Like, is that on a track or a trail?
It's a track, and it's outside, and it's in the first week of the academy.
Okay. All right. That's awesome.
To be clear, it's the expectation is to run it in less than 12 minutes.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Just one more question. What is the schedule like? I know Houston, it's 48 on, and then I think like 4 days off.
Oh, the sworn, like the firefighter schedule?
Yes, ma'am.
So we are 24/48 Kelly schedule. So we work 24 hours on. Our shift change is at noon, which is relatively unique for United States. I don't know of any other department that has a noon shift change, but we work from noon to noon the next day, so for 24 hours, and then we have 48 hours off. Austin Fire Department has 3 shifts, A, B, and C shift. So when A shift goes off, B shift comes on. When B shift is done, C shift comes on. When C shift is done, A shift comes back on. And we run on a 19-shift Kelly schedule, so every 19 shifts we have off, right? Or technically we've already worked those hours, so we already get paid for that time.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a lot more details in there, but it's 24/48.
Thank you so much.
My name's Joe.
Hi, Joe.
So I guess my question is more about the timeline of events going on until January, because like obviously still need to pay bills until then and things like that. So after the exam, these next couple weeks, what does the next few months look like?
So we're going to have the written test here in a couple weeks. After the written test, folks that participated that and passed will get an invitation to sit for the SOP. The SOP is going to be in July. I have the dates written down, but mid-July.
Okay.
So after the SOP, Morris McDaniel takes all those scores that actually, so we have a vendor that goes out, that does our testing and our scoring, and then we just get back the data from them. We're going to get back that data, share it and post it, and then we'll take the top 400. In the fall, they'll go through those next stages that we talked about beforehand, and we'll be giving conditional offers of employment towards winter before the academy.
So through fall, like we can expect to like have normal jobs.
Yes, yes. You shouldn't give up your
Yeah.
day job
Yeah.
until you've got a seat in an academy.
All right, thank you.
For perspective,
Okay.
I've got a cadet class that's starting on Monday, and they've been in this process for over 2 years.
Okay.
So understand, it's worth the wait. Some people, they get in on their first try, right? And some people get in on that first class. But just because you don't make it on your first try, don't give up. And just because you don't get into the first class, don't give up. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. And it's totally worth the pain in the butt of sitting here and then going to the written exam and then studying for the SOP and then getting prepared for the CPAT. It's absolutely worth it. Sorry, I don't want to keep you up there, but I'm actually curious. I know this goes a little off script. How many are actual firefighters right now? How many pre-certed and work for a fire department? Right on. Thanks for your faith in the Austin Fire Department and coming here, right? Who has never been on a fire truck before? Like literally never sat on. That's awesome. Good for you guys, right? That is a huge leap of faith that this is a job that is for you. It may be or it may not be. I have no idea, right? And that's not for, well, I'd say it is for me to determine once you get to the academy. Right? But it's worth paying attention that we respect the heck out of the fact that a lot of you guys are jumping through these hoops. How many don't live in Austin? Right? Awesome.
Wow.
Thank you, right? That's another big deal. I recognize that most of the cadets that come to my academy are not from Austin. That says a lot about the Austin Fire Department. That says a lot about the city of Austin, and we don't take that lightly. So I really respect the fact that you guys are putting your faith in our program and our department, because it is worth just the pain in the butt of the process. I know that I can preach it. I came through academy with these guys, and once you get to the academy and when you share that, there's a special connection. There's several other 107s back there too, but yeah, there you go. And that was almost 19 years ago.
Yep.
And I can tell you that all of us would tell you it is absolutely worth every ridiculous timeline, every ridiculous stuck in traffic, trying to get there on time. Chief is right, be there on time.
Yes.
Punctuality is extremely important. I know I went off a little bit there, but thank you for your, I thank you for putting your faith in the Austin Fire Department. We acknowledge that, and that's a big deal, so thank you.
All right, I got a few questions that came to me online. Read them off. How long will it take for us to get the email about the interview after we pass the exam? What's the timeline on that? About a week.
We know that people need to make arrangements to get back into town, especially those that are out of town.
Yes.
So I talked to Carlin about this earlier today, and it's going to take about a week, but that's about as best as we can do.
All right. What about, will the DD-214s be accepted after the deadline?
No, absolutely not.
Punctuality. What?
Yeah, and speaking of the DD-214, so those are due by the end of this month.
June 30th, right?
And I know there's been some talk about folks who are in the military right now and have the 180 days of service, but aren't going to have a DD-214 because they haven't been separated.
Yes.
Because of the way civil service is written, it says that we can offer those bonus points for people who have had an honorable discharge. So we can't offer those bonus points for people who have not had that separation yet.
All right. Another question. Will I have to relocate for this job?
Yes.
It depends on where you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. At least it's going to be extremely hard to go through the academy and not have a place here.
And actually that's worth going into a little more detail, and I know Chief Davis can answer to this, right?
Yeah, so I was talking to some of you guys earlier that I'm originally from San Antonio. So I tried, or at least.
Oh, you need it, Chief.
Hey,
You
Chief.
need to talk to the mic.
Come up to the mic if you don't mind.
So when I first joined the fire department, I joined from San Antonio. That's where I'm originally from. So I tried to be a part of the Austin Fire Department and live in San Antonio at the same time. Couldn't do it. I did maybe 3 weeks worth of going back and forth. So what I did is I decided to move up here close to the academy where I was only 5 minutes away. Best decision I ever made. So if you have an opportunity to do that, I would take it.
That's not to say, though, that folks that can't live in San Antonio and work here, and we have a whole bunch of people that do that. It's just extremely hard during the academy to get that done because it's so physically demanding and requires study time that the travel becomes prohibitive.
Yeah.
I say that, and I have cadets who carpool together, right? I have cadets that live down in Bernie, or they live in San Antonio, or they live in Seguin, or wherever, and they'll carpool and they get together. But if you don't have a fellow cadet that's doing that or is in your class, then you kind of take that gamble. But it's a tough 6 months to spend that many hours on the road.
Yes.
And some people can do it.
Absolutely.
I just didn't like driving.
Next question. How early should I arrive for the written exam?
You should arrive extremely early for the written exam.
Doors open at 7 a.m.
Doors open at 7, and you might be sitting there waiting on that door to open because you don't know what the traffic conditions are like. Reggie and I were talking about this earlier today. It would behoove you to make a dry run, to know what the traffic looks like, to know the conditions. Make that plan. Get your child care in order. Figure out your transportation. You need everything set so when the day comes, you have a very smooth, easy time making it to the exam in plenty of time.
Yes, construction downtown everywhere. So, like I said, if I was you guys, just take a dry run a day or two before, know where to park, know how to get there on time, know what places to avoid. So,
That's true for the entire process.
Yes. Yep.
There should be no, I recently had to speak to a cadet about learning how to be on time places. People go their entire career without ever being late to work, that should not be an issue. That should never be an issue. So if this application process is important enough for you, then you shouldn't even be worrying about whether or not you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time. So just factor that in. Know that traffic in Austin is terrible.
Next question, does having an EMTB have an advantage during hiring?
Not per se. You're not going to get any benefit or any points or anything, but it will in the academy. Just having the experience and the knowledge of the EMT, even if you don't have your cert, if you've gone through the class and you understand the material,
Yes.
that's the most academically challenging part of the academy.
I'm gonna expand on that too. I like to talk. You invited the right person. When it comes to being pre-certed, right? So if you already have your NREMT, or your Texas certification, if you've already got that, that's an advantage in that all the material is gonna be reviewed, but you still have to take all the exams. You still have to pass our skills testing, right? You just don't have to sit for that final certification at the end of the EMT program. But keep in mind that our EMT basic program is only 10 weeks long, and that is an extremely fast-paced, dense topic. And so it is in your best interest. If you know in your heart that you want to be a firefighter, chances are wherever you go, you're going to have to be an EMT as well. I recommend that you take a course. I recommend get your EMT already, or just start taking courses that get you exposed to that information. Because then when you come to the academy, it'll be mostly review. We have people who come into the academy who are already certified, sometimes even paramedics that struggle with the information because it's so fast-paced, and the tests are almost every week. It's difficult. It's like drinking out of a fire hose, especially if you don't have that basis in that topic. So if you know that this is what you want to do, chances are you're going to have to be an EMT anyway. So go get that certification. And then when it really matters and you go to the fire department that you really want, that's not going to be the thing that you're stressing about, right? So go get your EMT basic. But that said, we do train you. We will get you your EMT basic when you're in our academy. But man, 10 weeks goes by fast.
Yes.
And that is that is the most challenging academic portion of the academy.
Next question, when are you tested for the CPAT?
So, repeat that question?
When is the CPAT come into play in the hiring
CPAT
process?
comes in, it'll be the fall.
In the fall, all right. Probably August,
September.
All right. When is the
Says the guy
SOP
with all
scheduled?
Say again?
When are the SOPs scheduled?
The SOPs will be in mid-July.
Mid-July, thank you. What is the main reason for attrition in the academy?
Main reason? Initially, it's academics during EMT.
Okay.
Initially, it's academics.
Let me see. What if I don't have my social security card right now? What do they do with that?
Like it's in your other pants, or you just don't?
Well, you'll have to get back with the fire employment for that.
All right. Send that question to fire employment, please. Social security
We're
card.
going to send that question.
So actually, Reggie, if they don't have their social security right now, they can go and apply for it, and the social security office will give you information.
Okay.
Will give you something to use until that actual social security card comes in, and then you can use that.
All right, thank you, Juba. So go apply for it, get the paper copy till the real copy comes in. Why is the reserve component time in service considered in hiring?
Say again?
If you was in the reserve, why doesn't that count towards your hiring?
Because of the civil service exam, you need to have, if they have a DD 214 with 180 days and an honorable discharge, it will count. But they need that DD 214 with 180 days of service and
Honorable discharge.
Honorable discharge.
All right. Should I have gotten an email with my scheduled test date and time? If so, from whom?
They should have gotten that by on
May 18th?
May 18th. Those went out, and that would have been from fire employment. They need to pay attention to all emails from fire employment.
Yes.
Those are extremely important. So go ahead and mark them safe. Look for them. Those are going to be extremely important for you. You can't ignore those, otherwise you'll get dropped from the process.
And also to add to that, if they don't have it, check their spam folder, and if they still don't have it, email fire employment to request the date and time for their schedule.
All right. Do cadets start contributing to the pension during the academy? If not, when do we start contributing?
So no, they do not contribute while they are in the academy. They contribute to the pension after they have graduated the academy.
Okay. Is there a minimum vicinity you have to live in for AFD?
We don't have a residency requirement.
No residency requirement.
If you can get to work, we'll have you.
When will we get our test results from the written exam? You said 2 weeks?
A week after.
A week after.
The written exam.
A week after the written exam.
7 to 10 days.
7 to 10 days. All right. Am I able to reapply for a prior National Registry EMT certification of paramedic once in the academy?
It's better to get if you have a renewal, if you've let it lapse, you'll be too busy to do it during the academy. So renew it and get it, whatever you need to make it current before you join the academy.
All right, thank you. I am from out of state. How many times do we have to be in Austin throughout the hiring process?
You have to be here for the written, you have to be here for the SOP, and you're gonna have to be, I think Carlin's gonna group those things. Fire employment will group as much as they can, the background check, the psych, the medical, but it's gonna take several trips. If they make it into the top 400, it's gonna be worth all the effort that they make for those different rounds.
All right. Another question. What if I test positive for COVID and can't make the written exam? What do you do in that situation?
We'll have to get back with them on that.
Come on up.
If you test positive for COVID and you're scheduled on one of the days as far as the testing process is concerned, sorry, there won't be any reschedules as it relates to that. So that's the answer for that.
Thanks, Chief. How many questions on the written exam?
I don't know the specific number of questions. I do know that they have up to 4 hours to complete it.
Up to 4 hours, no certain number that we have. What happens if I pass the written exam and fail the physical exam?
And
You're basically out of the process. You can't fail anything. Once you get out of SOP and the written, everything else is pass-fail, so you'll be out of the process. So you have to reapply for the next process.
I think so.
Can there be date testing arrangements for candidates traveling from different states? Do they make arrangements for that?
Repeat that question. I'm sorry. I was
You're
talking.
traveling from out of state, can they call in and request a different date to test on?
They, if you get your test, your SOP date, or and you have a problem with that date, you have 5 days to get that information to Fire Employment and make that request. After 5 days, they will not honor those requests.
All right, 5 days, you can make that request.
Interesting. Chief, do you remember how many attempts they get at the CPAT? Is it 3? You have to pass it in 3. So if you don't pass your CPAT the first time, you can reschedule it again, and if you don't pass it the second time, you have one more chance.
All right.
So you have 3 chances to pass it, but if you don't pass it in those 3 attempts, then you're eliminated
All right.
or disqualified or something.
I'm not sure what this is. Can my pro board certification be transferred to IFCA SAC certification?
Yes. I don't have the right information on that. I can't answer it, but it is a question that they can send to hiring.
Yes. Please send that question to Fire Employment so we can get that answered for you.
The answer is, I believe the answer is yes. I believe the answer is yes, but they do need to get clarification from hiring.
Get clarification on that. Send that question to fireemployment@austintexas.gov. Does AFD use Blackboard or JB Learning for the academy?
Yes, Blackboard.
You use Blackboard, so. All right. That's all the questions I got from online. Anybody else got any other questions?
I've got a couple of follow-ups.
Come on in. Come on up.
As far as the academy goes, what's the schedule? The Monday through Friday, 8 to 5?
So currently what we're doing is we're piloting a program, and it's been pretty successful. EMT is 4 10-hour days, so they're long days, but then we have Friday off, right?
Okay.
So that allows for 1 fewer day on the road of travel. It gives 1 more day of study time. It gives 3 full days of recovery because you've got PT every day.
Okay.
And that's the first 10 weeks during EMT. But then when we transition to fire, we go to 5 8-hour days. So more traditional Monday through
So
Friday.
EMT is first?
Yes.
Fantastic. Another follow-up on that. You say some of these people have been in the process for 2 years.
Mhm.
Now, I know there's an age limit on the Austin Fire Department. Now, once you take your written, you're locked in, right?
You're in.
You're in.
It's the age limitation is based on the date of your written exam.
Awesome. Thank you.
For the CPAP, what is the best way to prepare for it physically?
Actually, when you guys are done taking your written exam and when you leave, they're going to be peer fitness trainers with the Austin Fire Department. They'll be outside of the building, and they will be there to answer questions about the physical expectations of the academy and also tell you more about the Fire Fit program, which even if you're from out of town, you can ask for more information and kind of stay up on it. But what they'll do is they'll provide Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning and evening workouts that are geared specifically for getting our candidates ready for the CPAT. So that is where I would advise you to turn. So be looking for those personnel outside of your test. You should see a couple posters, and you should see some of our uniformed personnel out there answering questions.
And there's going to be some postcard type material to take with you as well.
Exactly.
With that information.
And knowing too that the CPAT, it's the Certified Physical Agility Test. I'm making that up. Hey, this guy knows. What was that?
Candidate physical abilities test.
That's the one. It's not unique to the Austin Fire Department, so do a little research on it. It'll show you exactly what you are going to be expected to do. And it starts off with a stair climb and I believe 75 pounds of weight. So just do that. Start with that. Make that a natural thing that you can do without totally taxing yourself, and then proceed on to the next. So it's not something that is proprietary to the Austin Fire Department. So any research you find, you'll find what it's going to be.
Thank you.
Got a couple more questions online. Do paramedics make more than AFD? If you got your paramedic license, do you get?
I do not believe there is certification pay for paramedics.
No, it's not here, not.
No, you do not get paid for that. How's the behavior and personality portion of the written exam scored?
So there are soft question skills on the written exam. I do not know how those are scored. That may be a proprietary thing with Morrison McDaniel, our vendor. So I don't know. I think those are meant to test temperament, and I don't know if there's a way to test or prepare for those types of questions.
All right, thank you. Are there makeup days for the physical exams?
I wonder if they're talking
Are they talking about the CPAP or are they talking about the physical?
It just says physical exam. They
He's just
didn't
reading from the
specify
card.
if it's CPAT or the.
Makeup days, in general, there's not makeup days.
All right. What is the SOP?
Structured oral process.
Structured
It
oral
is
process.
our version of an interview. It is scenario-based, and it is provided, there's not going to be anybody else in the room with you, so it's a little bit foreign. They should definitely read up on it and try to prepare as much as possible. You got to remember that's 80% of your grade is the SOP.
Yes.
So it is extremely important that you do well on it.
All right. Liz, someone said, what if I can't do a pull-up?
Well, you can practice. You got you got almost a year to
Yeah.
start working on it.
Yeah, you got several
Now
months.
is the time to figure that out.
Yes. Okay, I'm just reading the questions. Will there be scratch paper available for the written test?
I think your test is the scratch paper.
Okay.
You can bring things with you to the written exam. They're gonna have you place all that stuff underneath your seat. So you're not gonna have any other things other than the testing materials they provide you.
Okay. So no outside, anything can be brought in? Okay. I get that a lot. I'll bring a calculator, so I'm not sure. So.
Reggie, I'm gonna go back to the can't do a pull-up.
Uh-huh.
So, because, pull-ups aren't the easiest thing. I want to stress that if you come to the Austin Fire Department Cadet Academy unprepared for the physical challenges, you have that much more work you have to do on top of all of the academics. And then really, just the stresses of learning a whole new job, right? So if you join the Austin Fire Department and you can't do a pull-up, that doesn't mean that you can't be a firefighter. But you have a huge challenge ahead of you. You're already coming in at a deficit. We set those expectations that you guys will receive after you're written on that little card, and it talks about being able to do 36 push-ups to an 80 beats per minute metronome. You have to be able to do 30 inverted rows, which is kind of a weird, like you're kind of laying on your back, pulling your chest up to a bar. You have to do a side plank for 1 minute and 13 seconds on both sides. These are all just the minimum expectations. If you can do those things on day one of the academy, then you are where we need you so that we can start training you to be a firefighter, right? So if you decide not to prepare, if you decide to come to the Austin Fire Department without being able to meet those expectations, we will still work with you and we will still try to get you to where you need to be, but it is going to be a very big challenge and it is going to be a huge uphill battle for you. So I can't stress enough that now is the time that you need to take ownership of that and start meeting those expectations, because it's just going to,
Because they're expectations.
it's hard because they're expectations, and we do a good job of communicating them well before you need to be there. And be honest, if you show up on day one and you can't meet them, that's nobody else's fault but yours. All right? There are a laundry list of excuses as to why you would come unprepared, but all of those things you can do at home. You can, it's not impossible, but you have to show us that you have the discipline. So we have 4 values in the Austin Fire Department that we really hold dear. It's respect, ownership, discipline. Wow, I just totally added that. Integrity, respect, ownership, and discipline. All 4 of those you should already embody, right? We will teach you about them, but all of them can be called into play when it comes to coming prepared to the academy on day one. So take that responsibility and prepare yourself, because if you show up on day one unprepared and you have no one else to blame but yourself, and I'll step off that soapbox.
What are the tunnel and tattoos policy?
So you can't have tattoos on your hands, face, and neck. Anything that's going to show in this uniform. So, and as far as tunnels, I believe it's a 1/4 inch for those tunnels.
All right.
Of a non-combustible material, I think, right?
Of a non-combustible material.
I don't know.
Next question. Will you get paid while you're in the academy?
Yes.
What is the pay during the academy?
The pay during the academy is, I believe,
19 an hour.
19 an hour. If you annualize that, I believe it's
About 40,000, something like that.
40,000.
Yeah.
That goes up after graduation and then after probation and
Yeah,
then after 3
and
years,
that
right?
that will after graduation it'll go up to 55. After your 1-year anniversary, it'll go to 60. On your 2-year anniversary, it will go up to 65, and on your 3rd-year anniversary, it'll go to 71.
All right, thank you. We'll have your bachelor's aid in the hiring process.
In the fact that you will better know how to study, yes, that will be a benefit, but there is no points granted to you for that degree.
All right. What do you recommend for those moving to Austin from out of state when it comes to finding housing and roommates?
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Anybody?
Find a couch to crash on.
I've got another follow-up.
Help with finding housing if you're moving from out of state?
That's okay. You got a card?
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
All right, good.
I just have a question about the physicals. If you're already a City of Austin employee, do you still have to take the firefighter, the physical and everything like that?
All of that, yes.
Let me see. Does AFD operate on ALS first responder units or all apparatus BLS only?
We have both, all our apparatus, that's changing right now. I think we're,
I mean, we still only operate under BLS, which is basic life support. So those of you who don't speak the language, EMT basic, there's EMT basic, EMT intermediate, and EMT paramedic, right? And all of the ambulances in the department, Austin Travis County EMS has paramedics and basic on their units.
but I do believe MedOps is talking about having ALS or engines, but that's not something that's in play yet.
But as of currently, we just run BLS, and we do have paramedics in the Austin Fire Department that are credentialed and cleared to operate as paramedics under the medical director, but that's kind of a rare thing, and generally it's after having worked in the system already.
All right. Next question. What is something you wish you knew or did in preparation for hiring process in the academy? Tips, tricks, anything you want to?
Study. I mean, that's the thing that separates everybody.
Study, be in shape.
Preparation. So knowing that SOP is going to be 80% of your score, that's huge. It needs to be your focus. Along with the written exam, don't ignore that. But you need to prepare to get this job. It is going to be competitive. Right now we have around 3,100 folks that are still in the process. That is going to be whittled down to, by the end of it, 210. So you're not going to get through this job if you're not competitive, and your only way to be competitive is through preparation.
My advice on that is apply to different departments and go through their process.
Yep.
Take the tests, sit for tests, see what it feels like to be in a room with a lot of people, take that written exam, and just test as often as you can. You may find that maybe Austin Fire Department doesn't offer you a job, but maybe another department does. And if this is something you really want to do, that's great.
Yep.
Right? So get that job. And there are books out there about how to sit for these written exams.
There's plenty of
There's literature.
Of material out there that will tell you how to prepare for both the written exam and the SOP. It's making that initiative, searching it out, and using that material to make yourself a better candidate.
All right, next question. Can you have visible tattoos?
Not on your face, neck, or
You
hands.
can have invisible tattoos.
No. Next question. I have ADHD documentation. Are there accommodations during the written exam?
You'll need to contact Fire Employment and give that documentation to them.
All right. If you have your CPAP from a different state, will we accept it?
I don't believe we will.
All right. With housing, is there a way to contact other candidates and try to room together? Do you have anything?
I don't know if we're going to have.
Is there a form or anything?
Yeah, that might be something that we look at through fire recruiting.
Yes.
To try and get candidates in contact with each other for a couple different reasons. So that's something that we can look at.
All right. Yeah, we
It's not uncommon for cadets to rent places together, like those who live out of town,
Yes.
and
Yep.
to cohabitate during the academy.
All right. Something we can put out there. How many spots, what did it say? How many spots will be open in each academy? 42. 42 in each academy.
Magic number.
What are the regulations regarding tattoos? We just answered that one.
Lots of tattoos.
Invisible tattoos are okay.
Someone said, what are the pull-up requirements again?
Well, the expectations are 30 inverted rows, which is
30 inverted rows.
So it's not a proper pull-up, it's not a chin-up, it's a little weird, but you're on your back and you've got a bar above you, and you pull up to about a 5-inch prop, and you do that to 80 beats per minute, and you have to do 30,
Okay.
at least 30. And when you go to, oh man, there's a recruiting website.
JoinAFD.com.
Not that one though. It's the cadet. It's the
Fire Cadet Employment.
That's I think the one, or preparation.
Fire Cadet Employment at the very top of the page
Yeah.
has a portion about the different fitness levels and
Yes.
requirements that we have.
So there is a document that exists and it lays out the specific minimum expectations, but then it also lays out the competitive expectations, right? So I encourage you to at least achieve the minimum, but aim for the competitive, right? Because there are going to be a decent number of people that come into the academy who can blow those numbers out of the water, right? So so I would say shoot for beyond the minimum, but that's a good place to start.
When is the drug test during the hiring process?
Surprise.
Surprise.
Can't get that information out.
It's too late.
Oh, yeah. Does AFD require a COVID vaccine? Great question.
We do not.
We do not. All right.
But if you get COVID and you are unable to participate in any event, that's on you. And if you get COVID and you're not able to complete the academy, then you may end up being recycled.
Oh, yeah, there's different, yeah.
Any opportunity for a shortened academy?
Not currently planned.
All right. None currently planned. Do we know how many people applied?
We had, right now there are 3,100 people still in the process.
3,100 people still in the process. Are there any tattoos that are allowed? Content-wise, profanity, etc.?
We have your tattoos cannot be vulgar.
Okay. Good. So all the questions I have from online. Anybody else got anything else?
Wedding band tattoo.
Oh, but you can't have the wedding band tattoo. That's the only tattoo allowed on your hand.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh. Yeah, just walk up.
Thank you.
We'll address you. Go ahead.
Two questions. One is, what is the best piece of advice you can give for the SOP that you're allowed to give?
If I were in your shoes right now, what I would do is do an exhaustive search on the internet for everything I could do to prepare myself for scenario-based interviews. And that, don't just limit yourself to stuff that's fire exam oriented. I'd find everything under the sun and practice speaking, because this is not going to come natural. It's you're locked in a not locked. You're put into a small room with a monitor, no one else, and a scenario that you have to answer. So you're going to read that. They're going to ask you to reply, and it's gonna feel sterile because you're not talking to someone, and you're not going to have those visual clues to help you figure out if you're doing good or doing bad. So you're going to have to practice looking into a mirror, talking, looking at yourself. That's really uncomfortable. But if you get good at it, then you'll be better prepared. So it's just like anything else in the world. The more you practice something, the better you're going to be.
Awesome, thank you. Now, let's say that hypothetically you had a recruit who is from upstate New York, where it's really cold and not anywhere like the heat down here. What's your best tip for that person to acclimate to the heat down here physically?
So heat acclimation, honestly, it's like 2 weeks of 2 hours working in the heat every day. So at the very least, of being outside. So part of my advice when it comes to getting prepared for the physical aspects of the job, of the academy, is if you're used to going to an air-conditioned gym and lifting weights there, you're not getting yourself prepared for working outside. Nothing really takes the place of the work that we do in our turnouts, right, in our fire gear that we wear, because that's just a wholly unnatural environment, right? It doesn't allow you to shed the heat that you're putting off, right? But when it comes to like working in the summer, you just have to work out in the heat for your body to get used to working out in the heat. Now, we do have winters, they're about 15 minutes, but they're nothing like what someone hypothetically might be from the north, from upstate New York. But and I don't know how long you will be in town if you are from the upstate New York, but you get an idea in the afternoons here, even this week, going for a run in this heat is a good way to get started, right? And just paying attention. The other big thing I would like to point out is how important hydration is. And we take hydration really, really important, and we take it very seriously in the academy. You can control how you put it in, but you can't control how it comes out, right? So don't underestimate the fact that most of you are dehydrated right now and you don't know it. And so when you put yourself in turnouts and you go out in the summer heat and you throw ladders and you are working out there, your body has to get used to that. So it's just a matter of doing it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And just last question, I'm sure many of the firefighters in here are aware of how much of a problem cancer is for firefighters. What are some of the measures that AFD takes to prevent all the problems with carcinogens and everything?
We've become so much more sophisticated on this here recently. We're getting new hoods that don't allow the penetration of all those particulates to touch a very sensitive part like your neck where you have so much absorption. We have turnout exchange, so after you go to a fire incident, you're going to do a gross decon immediately, and then after that, if you've been inside and you've got stuff on your hood, on your turnouts, you're going to exchange them for another set of turnouts, so that may include your helmet as well. So we really try, and all the old school guys used to think, let's just keep everything dirty and smelly, and that's your sign of, that I was in the fire. That's not the way we operate anymore. We know that's dangerous. We know that there are steps that we can take to mitigate the risk. So we want everyone to be safe and to have long, productive, cancer-free careers. And the way we do that is by limiting your exposure, and we limit your exposure by cleaning your gear.
We also have climb events and exhaust systems at the fire station, right? So when we're backing in the fire truck, we have a vent that you connect to the exhaust, and it sucks the exhaust and the benzene, all that stuff that can build up in the apparatus bay. That's all pumped outside. So all those little things we start paying attention to, and because you're right, we get exposed to a lot of really nasty stuff, and anywhere we can limit it, we pay attention to that.
And we also have, we want you to do your overhaul in at least an N95 or maybe on air if it's really smoky still. We monitor our fire scenes to make sure, we're taking into account what stuff's in the air. So we try and keep our firefighters really safe. And that's one of the things that I have to say this department is really great about. We take care that we are looking after our crews and that we know that they're safe and they're working in good environments. And that's one of our priorities that we've had since I've been in, and it shows in the amount of injuries and in line of duty deaths that we have. I mean, we've done a really great job on that.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey there, I'm James Richard. I had 3 quick questions for you guys. The first one was, is a CPAT outdoors or indoors?
It's indoors.
Okay.
It's in a big gym.
Yep.
Gotcha, thank you. The second one was, are there restroom breaks during the test?
You can get up and go use the restroom during the test.
Okay. And the last one was, so on the structured oral process, I guess it can be difficult to figure out whether you're rambling or actually just answering the question as comprehensively as they would like. So do you guys have any recommendation for maybe how long our answer should be?
They're going to limit your response to a few minutes. I believe it's 2 or 3 minutes on your response. So you're not going to have the chance to ramble too long. But you want to be as concise and as organized with your thoughts as possible. That's going to be part of, I don't know exactly what they evaluate on that SOP, but I can imagine that would be a very important part of the answer, is being able to construct a concise, clear message while under pressure.
Okay. And is that, do you know by any chance, is that mostly reviewed by or scored by just firefighters, or is it like a mix of firefighters and just...
That Morris McDaniels does that test for us. They're our vendor. They have they separate Like you'll find when you go to the SOP, they don't want you to wear any identifying things. You're going to have your confirmation number and your video are going to be the two things. And I don't know how it's graded or who they have, but I know it's done by the vendor.
Okay, and would you by any chance have the ability to like write things down, or you would not have paper or anything?
There may be a piece of paper in the room. I'm not sure if they provide you with a writing utensil or not. That's something that you can ask fire employment for specific instructions there about what those are for the SOP.
All right, thank you.
About the SOP, who's grading it? Was that the question? Yes. So the individuals that will be grading the structural process would be teachers. There will be a group of teachers who will go through and grade all the SOP videos as they come through. So that's how they'll be scored.
Come on up.
What would y'all say is the most challenging part of your hiring process?
I would say it's the SOP.
Yeah.
It's worth a lot. It's a little bit ambiguous. Even I don't know how they score it or grade it. And there's not going to be a lot of feedback. You know, you're in a room with nobody else to kind of gauge how you're doing. So it's going to be really important that you're well prepared for that. And the only way you're going to do that is by practicing.
Okay. And then how long after getting out of the academy do you get a permanent station assignment?
That's a good question. So when you graduate the fire academy, you're assigned as a probationary firefighter. So you have 6 months of academy, and then there's 6 months of probation, which is basically the on-the-job training, right? You're still an at-will employee. You're not civil service yet, but you are at the station, and the current design of the probationary process is that probie is assigned to like a captain's complement or one geographic area of the department, and then they travel around and they work with different crews and they learn how different crews do it. And then once probation is done, they aren't necessarily guaranteed the spot that they're at. It depends on where the availability is, right? So as one of the junior members, you kind of have to earn where you go, right? There are some really coveted spots, and you just have, initially you're going to end up going where there are holes, and as the department gets to know you and sees that you are, you know, putting in the work, and then you can eventually get to where you want to go, right? So after probation is where you end up getting your permanent spot.
If my end goal is being a full paramedic, what tasks should I take to accommodate that?
So we do we're EMT basics.
Mm-hmm.
We don't train up to the paramedic level.
Okay.
So if your end goal is to be a paramedic, I would pursue an education in that direction. I think ACC has a paramedic program, maybe? But we don't train up to paramedic.
Okay.
So it would be a different route.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. Two questions. One, is vision correction, like as far as like contact lenses, was that a problem at all?
Nope.
At any point in the job? Okay. And also, when you're in the fire academy, do you have like health care?
Yes.
That's all covered?
That's
Yes.
Joe Beth. Finally, a question for you.
This is why you came.
You look
Yes.
bored, yeah.
So when you are in the fire academy, you are a City of Austin employee, and you get all the benefits that are given to all City of Austin employees. That
Excellent.
includes medical. That includes dental. And then you have the option of adding any ancillary that you may want to add, like long-term disability and or vision and things like that.
Okay, so great. Thank you.
He's been trying.
Hi. Yeah, I have two questions. One is, as a reservist, how can I be a firefighter? Because it's sometimes like few days trainings stuff.
So we do often have reservists in the academy, and when you have training that's scheduled, we just require a letter from an officer that states the dates, and then we provide a letter on AFD letterhead that states the requirements, right? And I have not seen that been overruled, right? So we've been able to get our reservists out of training for 6 months. I'm speaking out of turn.
No, you're not.
Okay.
I just want to add to that.
Oh, okay, right.
So
So-
as a City of Austin employee, we are a 5-star military, and as a reservist, you get up to 15 days of time for that training. So yes.
And that's, yes, after the fire academy, after you graduate academy, then you have a certain amount of leave that you can use. But
For that.
during the academy, we will provide proof of employment for the academy.
Okay. Yeah. And second question is because right now I'm under TRICARE, so like once if I get in the academy, am I gonna swap with the different healthcare?
I know you will have the option of, if you want to waive our medical, you have that option to do that if you want to keep your TRICARE.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So first of all, thank you for kind of giving us all this opportunity to ask you questions and stuff. And it's not even really quite a question, but I found a resource that's helping me out. And I'm aware that y'all have probably been vague on purpose because you mentioned the initiative and going out and finding your own resources to go for, but I do feel a little compelled to share the resource to everyone here, but if that's not cool with y'all, I could not do that.
No, go ahead.
So
We just can't like support any particular vendor.
Right, of course. Can I say a name?
Yes, but
Okay,
you,
yeah, y'all
you are
can.
not
So,
us.
I have a friend who's a firefighter, and they found that this helped them, and others agreed with them, and it's been helping me and giving me confidence. So it's called Don McNay Fire School. So if you just Google that, you'll probably find something. They actually have a seminar and other resources particular to the Austin Fire Test. I'm not even sure if those resources are still available because I bought it a little while ago, and I'm for sure not making money on this, so you could trust it. But it helped me out, so hopefully it does help y'all. And thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Anybody else?
I just have another follow-up. I promise it'll only be my last one.
Go ahead. Come on.
ALS, BLS. I know you don't train up to paramedic, and I've heard you talk, you only train up to BLS. So there's no ALS prerequisite for promotion. So you
No.
can go as high as you want with BLS.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right. Come on.
So, I guess it's kind of a personal question.
Talk up a little bit for me.
I'm supposed to graduate next semester in the spring from the University of Houston, so I was wondering, like, would that affect me, like, having to go down there every now and then to, like, take a test, or, like, if I was in the academy?
You're supposed to graduate in a year?
Yeah,
This spring?
well, actually, this coming.
This coming
After the
spring?
fall, yeah.
Oh, well, you'd still be in the process. You'd still be in the
Yeah.
hiring process. Cadet Academy doesn't start till January, so in theory, you would have
Okay.
already graduated.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, that was all I needed.
All right.
Thank you.
Go Cougs.
Anybody else?
I have a question about the equipment that we use during the academy. Are we going to be using 45-minute cylinders? Is that what everything's just going to be based on?
Yeah, we've got all the same. It's all the same stuff that's used out in operations.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
How you doing? So after the 6 months, after a probationary member, will there be opportunities to do community service projects?
Always.
And does each station have one, or is it just a universal thing?
It kind of depends on the crew, really. And if it's something that you are drawn to do, you can always guide your crew to go do stuff, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
But there are all sorts of great programs in the department to get involved in. I know Chief can tell you about the Fire Foundation too, the nonprofit that really helps out the department and the citizens of Austin. But there's always great opportunities for that.
Okay. Last question. I know that Austin Fire Department is big on diversity. So what are we doing? What is AFD doing to bring in more African Americans? Make us feel that we are confident to do this and apply as firefighters.
That really goes out to recruiting, and we have really strived to reach out to the African American community as well as all minority communities We've done outreach to, we've gone out and we try and visit when there's not COVID, historically black colleges, HBCUs. We've done recruiting in the community, so we'll go out to community events and partner with them as well. So it's really about making inroads into those communities, being present, and showing that example that there are spaces for African Americans within AFD.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Y'all sure? I'm gonna read a couple more questions from online. All right. Explain the length of the academy and probation period.
Say it one more time.
Explain
Oh,
length of the academy and the probation period.
So the Cadet Academy is 28 weeks, so just about 6 months. And when you graduate from the Fire Academy, you become a probationary firefighter, and that's also 6 months. And your 1 year from your hire date, that's when you become civil service. So the end of your probation is your 1 year hire date, and that's when you are a sworn member of the Austin Fire Department.
All right. Someone asked, is life in Austin expensive?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a little outrageous right now. Are you paid monthly or bi-monthly in the academy?
It's every other week.
Bi-monthly.
Bi-monthly, okay.
But it's
I mean,
not
every
bi-monthly, it's
yeah,
every 2
no,
weeks.
every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. That's more descriptive.
It is, well, it's.
Because that's the bi-monthly, is 15.
This is an odd
Yeah,
question.
bi-monthly, it's every 2 weeks.
What's the tallest firefighter if you have to go through the academy?
Say, the tallest firefighter? Well, no, Chief
Thompson?
Baker didn't go through our academy, it would have been him.
It's probably Thompson, right?
Yeah, let's see.
What date is considered your hire date? Is it your
The
start date?
first
of-
day of
Is
the-
it your start date of the academy or your
It's the first day
probation?
of your academy.
First day of the academy. All right, thank you. Does failing the National Register EMT before the hiring process disqualify me?
No,
No.
because you'll end up going through the whole process again. You go through all the instruction again, you have to pass the skills again, you sit for the test again.
Okay. Okay, if I have visible tattoos and have started the removal process, can I still get in?
If you have those tattoos removed by the time you get a conditional offer of employment.
All right. Is a misdemeanor an automatic disqualification?
It depends on what level of a misdemeanor. That information is online. You need to look that up.
All right. Can you have a nose ring?
I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
Chief, can you have a nose ring? No, no nose rings.
You can be pierced, you just can't wear the ring.
Yep.
Okay. Does the psych portion consist of a polygraph test?
It does not.
No, we do not do polygraphs. Will there be formulas we have to memorize for the written exam?
I don't believe there will be formulas that you need to memorize.
I know, okay. Do you get all your certifications during the academy? Yes, you do. How do clinical patient contacts work out for EMT when you are dispatched to a medical call?
How do clinical,
How do clinical patient contacts work?
I'm not sure what they're asking there, but
I'm not
when we
either.
make contact with the patient, both EMS and fire are responsible for writing a narrative and doing the documentation, and we do that separately, but then it's all combined to their record.
All right. Are there lateral hires ever accepted in AFD?
there have been in the past, but we don't have plans in this process to do it.
No plans as of right now. How common is overtime?
How common is overtime?
Extremely
Yes.
right now.
Ask those guys back there. I don't get it.
Overtime is really plentiful right now, so.
That's why we got to hire a whole
That's why we need you guys.
slew
That's why we're
of
here,
cadets.
right?
Yeah.
Because there's too much overtime right now. We need you guys.
What are the time frames between each exam? This person is traveling from out of state. Like a month apart?
Between the SOP or the written exam and the SOP, there's about a month.
Okay.
And for The other events, that'll be scheduled once they make the top 400.
All right. Are there any community programs they can get involved with right now?
What do you mean by community program?
Maybe pass the torch or something like that?
You know, I'm not sure.
We're not having pass torch right now.
We are not having Pass the Torch this year due to COVID.
None that we know of right now, so you have to go ahead and look and find a couple of them.
You want to reserve some time for the meet and greet, Reggie? We're
Yes. First, I want to acknowledge a couple other people. Sochi Chafino, representing the LGBT community. Come on up and say a couple of words for me.
Good evening, y'all. My name is Sochil Chafino. I'm the LGBTQ liaison for the Austin Fire Department. I've worked here about 20 years, and I want to reiterate what Chief Bob Nick said, that this is the best job on the planet. So this little effort that you're going through, it's worth it, absolutely worth it. I also want to extend the invitation to ask any questions LGBTQ related. We have a lot of members. We feel very supported. Our chief, our executive management, and all of our operations crews, fellow coworkers, admin, all the civilian are very supportive of our LGBTQ community. So please ask questions. We're here to help you guys be successful. All right. Thanks so much.
Also want to acknowledge representing African American Firefighters Association, Mr. Robert McCray. All right, and also did Jesus leave? Oh, representing our local LULAC representative for the fire department, Lieutenant Jesus Santiago. All right. I know. So, all right. Anybody got any more questions? Anything else for tonight? Come on up, Mr. You got one more comment.
It's a comment. It's something that I've learned over the years, not even being a firefighter in Austin, only because it's been brought to my attention a few times, and that's what LULAC is here for, is to help those who need that help. If you think you have a problem understanding or studying or something like that, that's probably ADD. Don't use your mom's medication. Your brothers or families or friends. Go to a doctor, get yourself analyzed, get the prescription, let HR know about it. You protect yourself. The other thing is, and I'm not going to ask who has their COVID shots or not. I'm fully vaccinated. But if you won't want to miss out on the exams or anything, you have concerns about it, get the vaccine. It's free for now. If FDA fully approves it, you're going to pay for it. Those are my opinions. Take it or leave it. All right? Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, if there's nothing else, I want to say, if you could think of anything else later, please reach out to Fire Employment at austintexas.gov. That's where you can find us. All the questions should come there. All right? Everybody, stay prepared. Continue to study. Appreciate you guys for coming out. Good night.